And I told T.I. he should have kicked that boy when last year. If T.I. would have kicked that boy last year, that boy wouldn't have had to jack him up today.
Hip-hop beefs get messy all the time, but this one crossed a line that shocked the entire internet. When a decades-old feud between 50 Cent and T.I. suddenly exploded again in 2026, nobody expected the person who would take things the farthest would be T.Y.'s own son. King Harris jumped into the middle of a battle that had been simmering for almost 20 years. What started as online trolling quickly turned into something much darker when King went after one of the most sensitive topics in 50 Cent's life, his late mother. The internet instantly erupted. Some people said King was just defending his family. Others said he crossed a line that should never be touched in hip-hop. But then another voice entered the chaos, Charleston White. And instead of backing the Harris family, Charleston White did the exact opposite. He sided with 50 Cent and delivered a brutal reality check that left people stunned.
King is behaving and going on with these kind of actions and inactions and traits and character.
According to him, the real problem wasn't the beef. It was parenting. Now the internet is divided, alliances are forming, and this situation has turned into one of the most talked about hip-hop controversies of the year. And the deeper you look into it, the crazier the story actually gets. The tension between 50 Cent and T.I. didn't start yesterday. In fact, this rivalry goes all the way back to the mid-2000s, during a time when both artists were dominating hip-hop in very different ways. 50 Cent was coming off one of the most explosive runs in rap history, backed by the powerhouse team of Eminem and Dr. Dre, while T.I. was building his own legacy in the South and proudly claiming the title King of the South. That title alone was enough to spark debate across the hip-hop world, but things truly heated up when 50 Cent publicly questioned who actually had the authority to crown themselves king. Back in 2007, during a radio interview, 50 Cent made comments that many fans immediately interpreted as a direct shot at T.I. He essentially asked a simple but sharp question: who decides who the king is in hip-hop, the fans or the rapper themselves? While he didn't say T.I.'s name directly at first, the message was clear to anyone paying attention. At the time, T.I. had just released his album King and was proudly embracing that title across interviews, performances, and promotional campaigns. To him, the title represented years of success, influence in Southern rap, and a loyal fan base that supported his movement. But in hip-hop, respect and reputation are everything. When someone publicly questions your crown, it can easily turn into a personal challenge. Soon after, the tension became more visible when both artists appeared in the same circles during industry events and concerts. Fans started speculating about whether the two rappers would eventually confront each other directly. The rivalry wasn't necessarily violent, but the competitive energy between them was impossible to ignore. Things escalated further in 2008 when T.I. faced serious legal trouble involving federal gun charges. The case was widely discussed across media outlets, and when the sentence was announced, many people were surprised that he received about a year behind bars instead of a much longer punishment. Around that time, 50 Cent released music that many listeners interpreted as another indirect jab at T.I., suggesting that the numbers didn't quite add up. In the streets and on the internet, rumors started flying. Some critics even accused T.I. of cooperating with authorities, something that can seriously damage a rapper's reputation in hip-hop culture. T.I. strongly denied those accusations and made it clear that he wasn't going to let anyone question his integrity. Over the next few years, both artists continued focusing on their careers, but the tension never completely disappeared. Eventually, mutual friends helped arrange a phone conversation between them. The goal was simple: calm things down before the rivalry turned into something bigger than it needed to be. For a while, it actually worked. The beef went quiet. Both men continued releasing music, building business ventures, and expanding their influence beyond rap. To the outside world, it seemed like the rivalry had faded into hip-hop history. But as many fans know, old beef in this industry rarely dies completely. It just waits for the right moment to resurface. That moment started brewing again years later when the conversation around Verzuz battles began dominating social media. Verzuz was a format where legendary artists went head-to-head playing their biggest hits, allowing fans to debate who truly had the stronger catalog. It became one of the most popular events in hip-hop culture during the early 2020s. And that's when T.I. saw an opportunity. During one of his social media appearances, T.I. openly challenged 50 Cent to a Verzuz battle. In his mind, it made perfect sense. Both of them had massive hit records, both had loyal fan bases, and the rivalry already had a long history. A Verzuz showdown between them would easily become one of the biggest events the platform had ever hosted. But 50 Cent didn't respond the way people expected. Instead of accepting the challenge, he laughed it off. He posted jokes online, teased the idea, and treated the whole situation like entertainment rather than a serious competition. To many fans, it seemed like classic 50 Cent behavior. Over the years, he had built a reputation for trolling his rivals rather than engaging them directly. Still, T.I. kept pushing the idea. He mentioned the potential battle in interviews, podcasts, and social media posts. Each time he brought it up, it sparked fresh debates among fans. Some believed T.I. had the stronger catalog, especially in Southern hip-hop. Others believed 50 Cent's global hits and influence gave him the clear advantage. But while fans were arguing online, 50 Cent continued doing what he does best, trolling. Rather than agreeing to the battle, he posted jokes about T.I.'s beard, mocked the idea of the Verzuz matchup, and occasionally hinted that the challenge wasn't even worth his time. For him, the entertainment value seemed to come from keeping the conversation alive without actually stepping into the ring. Behind the scenes, there were rumors that the two artists had briefly discussed the possibility while both were in Los Angeles for performances. Some insiders believed the battle might actually happen at one point, but nothing ever came together officially. Eventually, Verzuz itself started losing momentum as the world returned to normal after the pandemic years. Without the same cultural moment driving the platform, the excitement around potential battles started fading. For a while, it looked like the T.I. versus 50 Cent debate would remain unfinished business. But then 2026 arrived and everything changed. Early that year, T.I. appeared on a podcast and once again brought up the Verzuz situation. This time, however, his tone was more direct. He suggested that 50 Cent had been avoiding the battle. According to T.I., the opportunity had been there, but 50 simply didn't want to step into that arena. That comment quickly spread across social media. And if there's one thing everyone knows about 50 Cent, it's that he rarely ignores public challenges. Almost immediately, he responded online. Instead of releasing music or scheduling a battle, he did what he always does. He posted something designed to spark controversy. Old footage, old accusations, and captions that suggested T.I. should keep his name out of the conversation. The internet instantly took notice. Fans started choosing sides again. Old debates resurfaced. Memes flooded timelines. What had once been a quiet rivalry suddenly became one of the most talked about topics in hip-hop again. But the situation was about to take an unexpected turn that nobody saw coming. Because the next person to step into this conflict wasn't another rapper from that generation. It was someone much younger. And his decision to get involved would push the entire situation into a completely different level of controversy. That person was King Harris. When King Harris stepped into the situation, the entire tone of the feud shifted overnight. Up until that moment, the back and forth between 50 Cent and T.I. had mostly followed the usual hip-hop playbook: trolling, competitive talk, and occasional jabs that fans debated online. But King's involvement took things into a far more personal direction. At the time, King was only in his early 20s. Like many young artists trying to build their own identity in the music industry, he was already active on social media and releasing music. But being the son of one of Atlanta's biggest rap icons meant that every move he made was constantly under public scrutiny. When the renewed tension between his father and 50 Cent started trending online, King clearly felt the need to defend his family. In a series of emotional posts and videos, he jumped directly into the argument. His message was simple: nobody should disrespect his parents. For many fans, that part was understandable. Loyalty to family is something deeply respected in hip-hop culture. But the way King chose to respond quickly sparked outrage. During his rant, he referenced the late mother of 50 Cent, a topic that many people consider extremely sensitive. The rapper has spoken publicly for years about the pain of losing his mother at a young age and how that tragedy shaped his life. Because of that history, bringing her into a public argument was seen by many as crossing a serious line. Within hours, social media exploded. Some people defended King, arguing that he was simply protecting his mother and standing up for his family name. Others felt the comments were disrespectful and unnecessary, especially considering the history behind 50 Cent's childhood. The debate spread across every major platform. Clips of King's rants circulated widely, and reaction videos began appearing almost immediately. What started as a feud between two veteran rappers had suddenly become a generational clash involving a much younger voice. But while people were busy arguing about whether King had gone too far, 50 Cent responded in a way that surprised many observers. Instead of releasing a diss track or engaging in a heated exchange, he leaned into the strategy that has made him one of the most effective internet trolls in hip-hop history. Rather than responding with anger, he posted memes. Images, jokes, and sarcastic captions began appearing across his social media pages. Some posts mocked the situation entirely, while others subtly targeted the Harris family without directly addressing King's comments. One of the most widely shared posts compared King to a cartoon frog character, turning the heated rant into something that looked ridiculous rather than threatening. To longtime followers of 50 Cent, this tactic was nothing new. Throughout his career, he has often treated beef like a form of entertainment. Instead of responding with traditional diss records, he frequently uses humor, memes, and embarrassing footage to flip the narrative. The goal isn't always to prove lyrical dominance. Sometimes it's simply to make the opponent look foolish in front of the internet. In this case, the strategy worked exactly as intended. The more serious King tried to make the situation, the more 50 Cent reduced it to jokes. Instead of arguing with a young rapper directly, he treated the entire outburst as something unworthy of a serious response. For many observers, that contrast made the situation even more awkward for the Harris family. T.I. and his sons were releasing music and statements about the conflict, while 50 Cent was simply posting captions and letting the internet do the rest. Meanwhile, another voice began entering the conversation, one that tends to create controversy whenever it appears. That voice belonged to Charleston White. Charleston White has built his reputation online by speaking bluntly about topics that many people avoid. He frequently criticizes aspects of hip-hop culture, street politics, and celebrity behavior. Because of his outspoken personality, his commentary often goes viral, especially when major artists are involved. When he saw King Harris attacking 50 Cent online, White decided to share his own opinion. But instead of supporting the Harris family, he delivered a harsh critique. During several live streams and posts, Charleston White argued that King should never have inserted himself into a dispute between two grown men. According to him, the situation showed a deeper issue involving parenting and discipline. In his view, if T.I. had handled previous public incidents involving his son more strictly, the young rapper might never have felt comfortable escalating the conflict this far. White didn't stop there. To demonstrate what he believed was hypocrisy in the reaction from fans, he made a controversial move of his own. After King brought up 50 Cent's late mother, Charleston White responded by referencing a deceased relative from T1's family. His argument was blunt. If one side opens the door to bringing the dead into an argument, then nobody's family should be off limits. That decision instantly added another layer of chaos to the situation. Supporters of Charleston White said he was simply exposing a double standard. Critics argued that he was adding fuel to an already toxic conflict. Either way, the internet was now paying even more attention. White also claimed that he had been supportive of 50 Cent for years and was willing to step into the feud if necessary. During some live streams, he even joked that he could deliver better insults against T.I. than anyone else currently involved. Whether people agreed with him or not, his commentary kept the story trending. Meanwhile, the Harris family continued responding through music and social media. Tracks were released, statements were made, and the feud seemed to grow more complicated by the day. Behind the scenes, however, many observers noticed something interesting. Despite all the noise, 50 Cent still hadn't released a single diss track. Instead, he continued using memes, short posts, and humorous responses to stay in control of the conversation. Every time the situation seemed to calm down, another viral post would bring attention right back to him. It was a strategy he had used successfully for years, and once again it was proving effective. But while the internet focused on the drama between these personalities, there was a much larger story developing in the background. Because the controversy wasn't just about personal insults anymore. It was also becoming part of a much bigger moment in hip-hop culture, one involving music releases, industry rivalries, and the complicated relationship between fame and family. And as the weeks continued, the situation would draw in even more voices, some of whom had their own long history with 50 Cent. As the situation kept gaining momentum online, the feud began attracting attention from other major figures in hip-hop. What started as tension between 50 Cent, T.I., and King Harris slowly turned into a wider conversation across the industry. One of the first high-profile names to react was Rick Ross. For longtime hip-hop fans, his involvement was not surprising at all. The rivalry between Rick Ross and 50 Cent goes back more than a decade, and the tension between them has produced countless online moments and diss records over the years. So when King Harris appeared in a video wearing a shirt that referenced 50 Cent's late mother, Ross publicly supported the move. In a comment that quickly went viral, he jokingly said he wanted that same shirt in a larger size. That single remark instantly signaled where Ross stood in the situation. For fans who already knew the history between him and 50 Cent, it felt like another chapter in a very long story. But while people online debated Ross's involvement, 50 Cent continued using the same approach that had kept him dominant in social media conflicts for years. Instead of responding through music, he relied on humor and timing. He posted edited images, captions filled with sarcasm, and occasional throwback photos that subtly mocked the entire situation. One post even showed a childhood photo of King Harris, paired with a caption suggesting that the young rapper might regret his actions later. To many observers, the strategy was obvious. 50 Cent was refusing to treat the situation like a serious rap battle. By doing that, he avoided giving his opponents the kind of attention that a traditional diss track would provide. Meanwhile, the Harris family took the opposite route. T.I. began releasing music that many listeners interpreted as responses to the ongoing drama. Several tracks contained lyrics hinting at the conflict, and fans quickly started analyzing every bar for hidden references. Around the same time, both of T.I.'s sons also released their own songs, turning the situation into a full-scale family response. For the Harris camp, it looked like they were treating the feud as both a personal defense and a moment to prove their presence in the music industry. The timing also happened to align with a major moment in T.I.'s career. After more than 2 decades in the rap game, he had begun speaking publicly about the possibility of releasing a final album before stepping away from recording music. That project would later be described as a closing chapter for his legendary run in hip-hop. As the feud with 50 Cent gained attention, many industry observers noticed how closely the headlines matched the album's promotional period. Every viral argument, every response video, and every reaction from fans seemed to drive even more attention toward T.I.'s music. Some critics argued that the controversy was unintentionally helping promote the project. Others believed the timing was simply coincidence. Either way, the drama kept both artists trending online for weeks. During this time, fan reactions became one of the most fascinating parts of the entire story. Across platforms like X, Instagram, and Reddit, debates erupted over who was actually winning the situation. Some fans praised King Harris for showing loyalty to his parents and refusing to stay silent when his family was mentioned. They argued that standing up for your mother is something many people would understand, regardless of the consequences. Others believed the young rapper had made a serious mistake. In hip-hop culture, there has always been an unwritten rule about respecting the dead. Even during intense rivalries, bringing deceased relatives into an argument is often viewed as going too far. For those critics, King's comments represented a level of disrespect that could permanently damage his reputation. The argument became even more complicated when people started discussing 50 Cent's own family history. For years, the rapper has had a highly publicized conflict with his oldest son, Marquise Jackson. Their strained relationship has played out online through posts, interviews, and indirect comments. Because of that history, some people argued that 50 Cent couldn't claim the moral high ground when it came to family issues. Others disagreed, saying that personal disputes between a father and son had nothing to do with the line King Harris crossed during the feud. As these debates continued, one thing became increasingly clear. The conflict had evolved far beyond a simple rap rivalry. It had turned into a conversation about generational differences, social media culture, and how fame affects family relationships. Older hip-hop fans often compared the situation to past rap feuds where artists settled their differences through music alone. But the modern internet era works differently. Today, memes, screenshots, live streams, and viral posts can carry just as much impact as a diss track. In some cases, they reach even more people. And few artists understand that reality better than 50 Cent. Over the years, he has mastered the art of controlling online narratives. Instead of fighting every opponent directly, he often turns their anger into entertainment for millions of viewers. By the time the controversy began slowing down, many people noticed something interesting. Despite all the songs released by the Harris side and all the viral arguments happening online, 50 Cent had barely invested any serious effort into the feud. He never stepped into the recording booth to respond, never launched a full lyrical attack, and never treated the situation as a true musical battle. Yet somehow he remained at the center of the conversation the entire time. That ability to dominate attention without fully engaging has become one of the most unique aspects of his career. Whether people love him or criticize him, they continue talking about him. And in the world of modern entertainment, attention can be just as powerful as victory. Meanwhile, the young man who helped ignite the latest chapter of this rivalry, King Harris, now faces the challenge of shaping his own path in an industry where every move is analyzed by millions of viewers. For some fans, his actions showed fearless loyalty. For others, they revealed the risks of stepping into conflicts that began long before his generation entered the spotlight. Either way, one thing is certain. This feud between 50 Cent and T.I., which started nearly 2 decades ago, has once again proven that in hip-hop, old rivalries never truly disappear. They just wait for the next moment and the next voice to bring them back to life. If you made it this far, then you already know this situation is way bigger than just another rap beef. The clash between 50 Cent, T.I., and King Harris has turned into one of the most talked about hip-hop controversies online, and the debate is still far from over. Some people believe King Harris was simply defending his family and standing up for his mother no matter what. Others think he crossed a line that should never be crossed in hip-hop culture. And with voices like Charleston White adding their opinions into the mix, the conversation keeps getting more intense every day. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think King Harris was right for stepping in and defending his parents? Or do you think he should have stayed out of a situation that started between 2 rap legends years ago? Drop your thoughts down in the comments and let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into hip-hop stories, controversies, and industry drama, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.